difficult. Women.
Hello. Hi.
How are you?
No. I'm still Marie.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, I guess.
I think I'm still Katy. I don't even know who I am or where I am or how I am or anything anymore. But we are difficult women. I do know that.
Yes,
and you're
very
listening
difficult.
to the Difficult Women podcast. So
And we're still banned.
Yep.
Called Reformed Whores. Our music is still on Spotify. We're still getting like 0.000 cents from each play.
So all is well in the world.
All is well.
Everything is as it should be. Oh God.
Yeah. So we're here. We're doing it. I'm in Nashville. Katie's in Brooklyn. How are you?
Honestly, that's what this episode's going to be, right? Basically,
yeah.
It's
how
just like,
are you?
I cannot stop thinking about how the world is on fire. So that's how I am. And how are you?
Yeah, I feel like there's so much noise going on.
Yeah.
That I'm like really trying hard. Like I spent the morning playing my ukulele, learning the Taylor Swift Tim McGraw song.
That's a great, honestly, and I don't even mean this as a joke. That is like exactly what we should be doing. And I'm not saying we should be ignoring what's going on, but we should be taking time for ourselves to have some self-care, because the stuff that's happening right now in the United States is extremely intense. It is, in my opinion, not surprising at all. Not surprising at all. We've been talking about it on the podcast for a long time, for years. Like this is coming. But it doesn't make it any less upsetting, and we're scary and all that stuff.
Terrifying.
So,
yeah. I think that's. I haven't been sleeping. I think a lot of people just haven't been sleeping. Just waking up with fear, And then last week I was calling my senators here, and I just would sob on the phone to these answering machines, and I just through my tears was just saying, I'm just really scared. I'm scared for democracy. I'm scared for my family. I'm scared for what I thought this country was about. And all of a sudden, I don't see it anymore.
Right.
I just feel like everything is so upside down. And I also feel, all of a sudden I'm in Tennessee. So I'm calling these Republican representatives, and it's like the two. So, as we all know, like 12 senators were going to come forward and push back against, the Electoral College. And my two senators, Marsha Blackburn and Bill Hagerty, I believe is his name, both were on the list of 12. And because of Wednesday, they changed their mind. So I called Marsha Blackburn every day last week after everything happened. But I did actually say to her, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for not going along with what you said. But then wanted to say that she's the devil incarnate still. Yeah.
Well,
I didn't.
But honestly, I think that is part of what I've been I'm scared for sure. I'm scared. I'm very angry. I'm very angry. I'm angry because I feel like people have treated me in other conversations like I'm Chicken Little, where I'm like, this is coming, and nobody's listening. And I know it's not just me that feels this way. There's a lot of people that feel this way. But then to finally have it happen and people seem surprised, I'm like, what are you surprised about? People were tweeting for years, let alone like even coming up into the moment of the Electoral College vote. These people online have been they're tweeting that they're going to kill people. They're not even hiding it. So what is this idea in this now, this whole rhetoric around like we've got to unity, we have to come together. It's like, bitch, no. Your idea of unity is that we come and meet you where you want us to be. Right. Because every time you do something wrong, you say unity, but if we do something you don't like, you're like, you're a terrible person. So it's like, no, enough. I mean, yes, of course I want unity, but like, this is not how we achieve that. We don't achieve it by like not holding people accountable for their actions.
Right. That's what has to happen. Hands down, there has to be accountability, or we're done. We're literally, as a society, as America, we're over. And because then it will just prove, first off, to the rest of the world that you can
Anything
storm
you want.
into our Capitol. Yeah, you can do whatever the fuck you want. But then, especially just to anybody on our soil who's trying to rise up and be a dictator or something that it could possibly happen. I don't know. It's sickening. Yeah.
Well, the way I keep thinking of it in these terms, and I don't know, like I don't know with our listeners specifically, like where everyone's falling on this. And if people, I think sometimes fear in itself makes people want to be like, let's not rock the boat anymore. Don't impeach him. Let's not, get everybody more angry because then that'll make it worse. That's not how it works. Nope. It reminds me of, kids. And I've worked with many. I've worked at the Children's Museum. I've worked at a paint your own ceramic studio. I've seen kids operate in all different ways and different kinds of kids and kids from all sorts of different backgrounds. And the one thing I know is when a kid is throwing a tantrum, the only way to stop it is to shut that shit down immediately. What I feel like is happening now when people say, well, don't impeach him, don't, like, it's going to make it worse. That's the parent that, like, when a kid is having a meltdown, they freak out and then they start trying to appease the kid with, like, candy. It's like if you give a kid a lollipop when they're having a meltdown, what do you think is going to happen next time? What do you think is going to happen? You've just rewarded them for having a meltdown. And so same thing this is exactly the same, like, psychology. It's like if someone's pushing the limit on something and it's totally unacceptable, to then kind of let it go or be like, well, next time it'll be better. All you're doing is teaching people how they can behave. And honestly, that's the same thing in a relationship, right? So you're dating somebody and they start cheating on you and you say, well, they'll be better next time. Does it ever get better? No.
Right.
Because now people know what they can get away with.
Right.
So this thing about the impeachment, I had one very short second where I thought, oh God, is this going to be, if we impeach him, does it make it worse? And then I realized it doesn't. It's similar in a tantrum. When a kid is having a tantrum and you say no the first time, they get louder. And that's when people start to crumble. Parents crumble because they're like, oh God, they're freaking out. That's the time you have to be strong and say, I don't care that you're screaming. You have to. We're stopping. We're not. You're not getting your ice cream. You're not getting to paint the pony. You're not going to get to. You're not going to get to storm the Capitol again. Come here. Come with me. Come home.
Come with me.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Sit right here.
You're going to sit in the corner
towards the wall. Yeah.
Sit in the corner, and think about what you've done.
Well, a lot of people have said that the Senate should have, right then, Wednesday night, gone ahead with articles of impeachment. They should have just started that right then.
I 100% think that would have been great. The only thing I'll say is, as a person that stayed up and watched the whole ordeal, at 3:45 a.m., I was so tired.
You stayed up and watched C-SPAN?
Oh, yes. I watched the entire 7 hours of this thing.
Oh,
and that was
Katy.
starting at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. I watched from 8 p.m. to 3:45 because I was just like, I don't believe it's going to happen. I can't go to bed tonight and then wake up in the morning and be like, oh, they didn't pass him. They somebody, they stormed the castle again or whatever. So I just was like, I have to see this happen. And this didn't really make the news, I guess, because there was so much news. But in the middle, near around 2 a.m., a fist fight almost broke out in the house.
I saw that video.
Again, I think, yes, it would have, and I'm very similarly, yes, they should have just started the articles of impeachment then. I just don't know that. I can't imagine a world where that actually could have happened because people were
because they were
fighting.
tired.
Yeah.
Right.
And they were so sleepy and and these people are old. It's just can't, some of them.
So I kept checking AOC's Twitter handle all day long that day just to see if she was okay or what was happening. But she has posted today. This is Monday. She posted on her Instagram that she does want to talk about this, but you have to understand this was one of the most traumatic experiences of her life. Right. And for all of those people, right. They were a mob of people were coming to, we don't know specifically, but hurt them, kill them, whatever, some people had, they had guns, they had rope, those plastic ties, they had a guillotine outside or something, or I don't even know. It's
this is
insane.
so it couldn't be more clear what their intentions are.
Right.
So yes,
So,
it's so traumatizing.
I hope that they're getting some proper therapy.
Yeah.
Because-
The hard part is that they do have to act quickly. You know, like we
Yeah.
were saying, you can't just like ruminate on this too long. But yeah, I mean, I don't, you know, and it's the other, you know, there's so many points on this that are just like mind-boggling to me. One of which was when the footage that we saw when you called me, so Marie called me, she's like, "Are you watching this?" And we turned on the news. The original footage that we were seeing, and I don't know if it was just like because I don't know why this was the case, but a lot of that footage looked like a lot of dum-dums wandering around not knowing what the fuck they were doing. So my first impression was like, what is even happening here? Like it's still scary because it's very like weird and aggressive. And all of a sudden the last couple of days, more footages have been coming out and you see how violent these people were. They beat that police officer to death basically.
Right.
It wasn't like, you know, the initial images that I saw were, you know, of a guy in like a stupid hat painted, you know, red and blue. And I was like, these idiots, like, they don't even know what they're doing. I'm finding now, I think that enough of them knew what they were doing enough that we can't just write it off as, because I'm hearing people be like, oh, they don't know, they're stupid. I was feeling that way. These people, they do know what they're doing. They've been telling us what they want to do. Luckily, the one thing they didn't do was find a map of the Capitol before they got inside because they were confused about where to go. It would have been a simple thing to do, but they're not very organized in that sense. But, you know, but they remember to bring zip ties, right? So we know what their intentions are. And even if that, like, even if it wasn't every single person there that was planning on zip tying somebody, they were participating.
Right.
You hear it. There was a really interesting account, a first-person account on Twitter of these people that lived in DC. They were like, we are not participating in this. We were just curious, like, what was going down. So we went over there and sort of, I think before things got super crazy, they were kind of observing the people there. And they said one of the things that stood out was, number one, living in DC and participating in lots of different kinds of protests, they were shocked at how little police activity was there. There was so few police people around. And they said when we went to, there was some like March for Science event for like with kids and adults, and like the main speaker was Bill Nye the Science Guy. They said there was an insanely larger police presence. At that event than there was at this event, where people were, before they got there, were threatening to murder everybody in the Congress. Did you not? I knew that this event was happening. I knew this event was going to get violent because all I had to do was read a couple things on Twitter. So they didn't hide it. They didn't hide it. So what?
Trump has been tweeting about this day too.
Everybody's been tweeting about it.
Yeah.
So what? So that,
I don't know what happened there.
Well, I mean, I don't know what happened, but clearly that was planned.
Something. Yeah.
Clearly. And they're saying now, they're trying to make an excuse that, oh, well, we thought it, like the optics of having, you know, armed people around the Capitol looked bad. Well, they do it. They did it for the
They
science.
do it all the time. Right.
They did it for the and for the Black Lives Matter, of course. But the point of this account was that, like, they do it for every other protest, even if it's like a pretty benign protest. So why did they choose not to have the same kinds of protection there? They chose that, and it's not optics. It's like an inside fucking job. And I know that sounds like a conspiracy. It's funny with the conspiracy theory shit, because you don't want to be like, oh, I'm a conspiracy theorist. But then you're like, oh no, but then some of this is really happening.
Right. Yeah, something was that was premeditated. Like,
and the other thing too about how there was one of the early tweets that popped up during all this, it was like a joke tweet but serious, was someone saying like, all y'all asking where the police is like asking where's Miley when Hannah Montana's on stage. You know, and when I saw that, at first I was like, that's really funny, but like, God, that seems like a little extreme, right? Like, do you think that the police would have that much cojones to like actually be in the mob, like in participating in this? And then it turns out, absolutely. There were so many police officers that were flashing their badges, participating in the mob, participating in the riot, that were there for the same reasons as the guy in the, you know, Camp Auschwitz sweatshirt.
Right.
So this is a real, like, you know, I know that we have listeners probably right now thinking like, this is terrible, but also like, well, it can't be this. It can't be. It is. It's that bad, you guys. It really is.
I was reading David Brooks's article in the Times, and this is what hit me the most when I was watching all the footage over the last several days. And I'm sure I'd like to hear what you think about this as well, since you're from DC. But I just remember in 8th grade going on our 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip and just walking into the Capitol and being completely in awe and enamored with just history, with looking at the paintings on the walls, the marbles, the rotunda, I mean, just in complete awe, and just how, I don't know, just the respect that you have for our forefathers. And David Brooks puts it really beautifully in an article as well, of just like how his first time there when he was 14, and now even still as a 59-year-old man going through those halls, he's been through them thousands of times, what it represents in America. And then to see people purposely planning to take down what our country is about. Just the amount, and to be called a patriot for it. And that, to me, what I saw, and that makes me so angry, is the disrespect of these people claiming to be patriots, destroying and trying to harm just anything and everything that's not their way. It is like a children's temper tantrum or something. Yeah. But if anything, it lit a fire in me of, I am a patriot. Those motherfuckers are not patriots.
Right.
I'll show you what a patriot is. And I mean, I don't know what that, I was listening and working on a Taylor Swift song this morning, so I don't know what that really means right now.
It means you're doing self-care so that you can actually
come back
participate in a real way.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
I think also the thing too that is, and this is where it gets it's so fucked up and layered, is that the people that actually have a real right to be angry at our forefathers and the way that this world was constructed, and this sort of democracy that has not been democratic for every single individual in this country. The people that really have a right to be upset about it, they're not storming the Capitol.
No.
It's the people that have actually profited off of, whether they know it or not, profited off of this white supremacy system that we were built on. That they're, like you're saying, they're the ones that are mad?
Right.
And that's just, to me, that really goes to show how much, not just Trump, clearly, but his rhetoric, but then the rhetoric being supported by all these other members around him. I was going to say people in the government, but even just people around him, anybody participating in this. And that actually ultimately includes even liberal media that keeps, spreading these stories, trying to kind of downplay a white attacker versus a black attacker or something like that. Or you know what I mean? So again, the idea that like these people are going in there with some fighting some fake force, fighting some fake thing that doesn't even exist, and then claiming that they have more of a right to do that than people that actually have something to be upset about. I mean, I feel like I'm a little bit like, I'm jumbled right now in my thoughts, because there's like so many things going on here at once.
Right. Well, I have to say, I was curious, I don't go to church, but my parents do, and they've been attending Zoom church throughout this time. And my mama called yesterday and told me that they had a really nice sermon, that the minister was real fired up. And I was like, well, what did he say? Because our church that I grew up in, there are U.S. Tennessee senators that, past senators who go to my church. I grew up going to the Frist's home for the church picnic, and he was a big U.S. senator. And so like there's definitely Republicans within this church that my parents have been going to for 30 plus years. And so my mom said the minister just went off and was basically, you do not worship flags. You do not worship idols. You have your God, and that's who you worship. That's, I'm sure he went way more in depth than what I'm saying right now, but like, I think I don't know what other churches are doing or what Christians are saying or something, but I go back to this because I grapple with it so much because I grew up in the church. But how can you be a Christian and support that man?
Right.
How can you be a Christian? And so many of these people, I think these Trump supporters that stormed the Capitol and physically hurt people call themselves Christians. I do not understand. And I think religion plays such a huge part in the divisiveness in America. And, you know, it's like Trump has fanned the flames for like 4 years. Like, I'm just so curious what all these churches are saying as well.
Well, I mean, I think it depends on the church. I think because I have a friend who's a pastor. Yeah, I have a friend who's a pastor, and she's very liberal, and she's in Atlanta, and she's been saying great stuff. But she's been saying it the whole time. She hasn't changed her tune. I think that one thing that I appreciate someone like that in that kind of a church where she really is she's a real Christian, and she really does appreciate Christian values with like Jesus and that stuff. And then there's people that are in church for power, and they're in church for, you know, they're
for
running
money
their stuff
and for
And then there's people that like, I think that's the other thing that's so crazy about this, or not crazy, but it's just so difficult to talk about because, and we talk about this in the pod all the time, things are not black and white. Things are not this or that. And another thing that the person said that was there for the firsthand account on Twitter, he was like, one of the things that was crazy is, you know, we're always trying to spin a narrative that these Trump supporters are all like nuts, or they're all, you know, wearing these crazy hats and like they don't know what they're doing. He said when we were walking around, it was shocking. Just the vast array of types of people that were at this thing. So we had the people that we saw in our, like, you know, the kind of crazy seeming Q and Q and the white supremacists that are very clearly that. But then right next to them, you'd see like a guy in a business suit who's clearly more like a business Republican. And then next to that, you'd see like a minister who's like, you know, kind of at the Republican side because of like the, you know, the more religious side of it all. And he's like, and they were all mingling together in this way that was scary because you're like, this is so many people. But in addition to that, it makes you go like, why, how could, if you're a minister or if you're a business guy, like just you consider yourself a regular guy, a regular Trump supporting guy, right? Just a person out there that's like, no, I mean, I don't like everything he does, but I support him and he's our president, all that shit. If you're one of those people and you're standing next to a guy that says, kill Black Lives Matter, kill kill Pence, find Pence, kill AOC, and he's wearing a Camp Auschwitz sweatshirt, aren't you going to stop for 1 second and go like, huh? Like if the guy that I kind of am into also is attracting a lot of these guys, like maybe I should stop and think about why that is. It made me think of like if you love this band, if you're like super into this like band and you're like, this is the best band, you've been telling everybody I love this band, really, like they're misunderstood, but they're the best band ever, and your friends are like, I don't know, and you finally go to that concert of that band and the entire audience is full of Nazis. You might want to stop and go, maybe I've been misunderstanding the lyrics. Maybe, like, I don't really know what this band is about. And maybe or maybe I'm a Nazi. You know? Or maybe I'm a Nazi. Because, like, what then, why is, how can you discriminate between a pastor who's into Trump and a Nazi that's into Trump? Like, then it's like, well, is the pastor a Nazi? Is he a white supremacist? You know what I mean? And the answer is very well yes. I mean, I think that answer probably is yes. Or if you're not a Nazi and you're not a white supremacist, then you have to really take a good hard look around yourself and see the company you're keeping right now, whether you know it or not, and go, oh, maybe I'm wrong. It's very hard for people to do that. They have to say, maybe I was wrong about this guy. And I think there's been a little bit of that happening.
There has been a little bit.
Not nearly enough, but there's been a little bit.
Some friends whose parents were Trump supporters, now they're backtracking and saying, actually, this guy, maybe he's not for me.
You know what? I'm
I like those tax cuts. I like the rich people's tax cuts, but you know what? Not into killing.
But I don't think I'm a Nazi. I'm gonna try not to be a Nazi.
It's amazing now, though, because I'd still see a lot of Trump flags up here. It's amazing what that sign now represents. It's different now after Wednesday.
What's funny is that I feel like it's always been that, but people didn't want to think of it like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's another bullshit thing I've been hearing people say. Somebody in my 7-hour binge of that TV show called The Electoral College Vote. So not worth it. But
it was so great. I ordered Domino's.
Losing my mind. There was one, Congress guy that was sort of condemning the actions of that day, but he kept saying things like, well, Trump wasn't like this 8 months ago. He's a different man than he was 8 months ago. I'm hearing that. No, he's exactly the same person.
Yeah.
He's exactly the same.
Right.
Exactly. So what is that about? Like you just didn't want to see that he was that person because you were getting your tax cuts. You didn't want to see that he was that person because he was kind of like, all right, fine, we'll ban abortion. But you have to really ask yourself, why are you so blinded by that
the
stuff?
carrot dingling in front of you?
Yeah, that little carrot. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just can't. The other thing that blows my mind about, I mean, the amount of hypocrisy has just been mind-boggling hypocrisy. And people and they don't see it. They really don't see it, it seems like. Some of them do, and then they know they're manipulating. But I think some of these regular Trump supporters, they just don't even realize how ridiculous they are. But this whole thing about how Twitter banned Trump, and now all these fucking Trump supporters are up in arms, and they say free speech, freedom of speech. First of all, let it be known, if it isn't already at this point, because people are saying this, Twitter is a private company. When you sign on to that service, you literally sign something electronically that says, I'm not going to participate in hate speech. I'm not going to participate in, breaking the rules,
invoking
of Twitter.
violence.
You agree to
all
that.
Those things, right?
And then if you break the contract is broken, you're done. That's not freedom of speech. That's a private company. Secondly,
and that's actually a Republican bill that they've passed.
Right.
If that a private company can choose
do what they want.
Thank you, Republicans.
Yeah. And so
that was all you.
Yeah. And you know how that has manifested also, and maybe this is what you're referring to, is Republicans decided, if this bakery doesn't want to serve a gay person, they should do that. So there's hypocrisy number one. Number two, they say freedom of speech, you're not allowing people to express themselves. Guess who very early on in his presidency, which is illegal, by the way, started blocking other Twitter followers.
Right.
And that's not illegal if you're just a regular citizen on Twitter. But if you're shutting out voices of your constituents as a public persona, that's not allowed. And they let him get away with that too. So that's censorship too. So by our president. So that's number two, hypocrisy. Number three, these people that talk about freedom of speech. Freedom of speech isn't something that's just granted to every human that's born on this planet. We have freedom of speech in the United States because of democracy. The same thing you're trying to take down right now. What do you think is going to happen if you destroy the democracy? You think then you're going to have freedom of speech? It's like this snake eating its tail shit or something, where it's like you don't even know what you're fighting for, some of these people. Or you don't even know what the repercussions of your actions are, partially because you've never been held accountable. So, I mean, that freedom of speech shit. Also, by the way, number 3 or 4, I don't even know what I'm up to at this point. So many points about this one thing. Right. Trump is president. He can get up. He has everybody's attention in the entire planet. His speech has not been impinged in any real way. Just because that is also that sort of like, I deserve everything the way that I want it to be. It's like, no, that's not how freedom of speech works. There are repercussions to the things you say. Doesn't mean you get to say everything you want and then everyone's supposed to do what you want. That's how it has been for a lot of people. Right. But get used to it. That's not going to be like that anymore, I hope.
Well, what do you think's going to happen this week? I have a theory.
Well, I've been listening to my astrology reports.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm not going to lie. And they've been saying this. I've been like cognizant of this for a while, but I've been hoping it was like not going to be that bad. And then after this week, I'm like, oh, I see what's happening here. Apparently this week and then next week are going to be the most volatile of the entire year, which isn't like surprising. I mean, doesn't seem like that could be the case.
More volatile than it has been.
Yes. They said it's going to get worse.
Right. That's great.
Everybody
Katy,
hold on to your butts.
Shut your mouth.
Hold on to your butts.
Oh my God. No.
But volatile, not necessarily meaning like it could just be that people finally stand up against these people. And then it's like I was just saying with the kid having a tantrum. You say no to them and then they get louder. So I think that this next 2 weeks is them going to be getting louder, but that means more than ever, we've got to crack down on this shit. And we have to be strong and brave and really hold everybody accountable. That's what I think. What do you think?
What are we calling the weakest? If somebody's really weak now, a testicle, not a pussy, a testicle.
Yeah, a little testicle.
Scrotum.
Yeah, scrotum.
Well, I think Scrotum Man, aka Trump. I think this little scrotum is going to resign, and I think that Mike Pence is going to pardon him.
That's probably his best bet
because he is
an individual
terrified. Right.
But I'm not sure if he's actually going to resign.
I mean, it's hard to believe that he actually would, but listening to my political podcast,
it's definitely his best bet for his
It's his
future.
best bet because everyone has said across the board, Donald Trump's biggest fear is going to prison.
Yeah.
He has fought his entire life and waged everything he's ever owned to fight against not going to jail.
Right.
You know? And now he will be. He will be. And if he doesn't, then that's shame on us again. But we have to convict him and put him in whatever.
I wonder what happens. Oh yeah, tell me.
Well, I was just going to say that if that's his biggest fear, then resigning actually isn't that bad. And he can spin and he can just
resigning is definitely his best bet for him personally. It's just a question of it's not necessarily the best bet for us, and it's not even the best bet. Like his followers are going to freak the fuck out too. I mean, they're not going to.
Oh yeah, there's three things that could happen. He could resign. We could do the 25th Amendment, which is not going to happen, I don't think, or impeachment, which is also a process that is
happening. I think right now. I just saw. I think it's
absolutely necessary.
A long time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Three wonderful.
Well, the other thing that could happen is that nothing happens.
If nothing happens,
that's really
I swear to
scary.
God.
Yeah, that's going to be the worst case scenario if nothing happens. It'll feel the most peaceful in the immediate moment, and then we're going to pay for it later. So
we will definitely pay for it. I have to have hope. I think like I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about all this, and like it's now out in the open. We've all you have, like you were saying, like before Donald Trump's sign in a yard, like it would mean one thing, and now maybe it means something else now, but all along it meant this one thing. But now what my point is that like now it's completely out in the open. Now you cannot for a second anyone in America or in this world deny that domestic terrorists stormed the Capitol. Trump supporters stormed the Capitol.
Unfortunately, I'm already hearing on some of them are moderate Trump supporters. They do deny it. And that's exactly
this is
why
where I fucking can't. I can't. This is the noise that makes me I can't focus. I mean, I know nobody can right now. Yeah.
I know. I mean, I know. I think that's why I've been thinking about how it kind of, I got into a big, remember I had a New Year's resolution to stop fighting on Facebook, but that went out the window.
Oh week. No, really?
Oh my God.
You got into a
just
fight
so
already?
Just so much. I try to minimize the amount I wanted to fight, but I did post something on Facebook about the woman, Ashley, what's her face, that got shot and died at the Capitol.
And she was a Trump supporter?
She was the one that got shot inside the Capitol.
Yes, but she was a Trump supporter. I mean, she wasn't.
Yes.
Because I read initially that she was a civilian, like on a tour in the Capitol. I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh, no. Okay, so if you're not familiar with this story, 6 people now have died because of this. One was Ashley, I guess was her name. She was storming the Capitol along with everybody else. I've seen video of what happened that day. They were very violently trying to break down a door where there was a congressman standing on the other side. They were trying to evacuate. So there was imminent danger there happening. There was a couple police officers trying to block the door, and the protesters were punching around the guy's head to break the glass. And they were breaking the glass. They were punching that hard. And the guy's just standing there trying to like remain calm. Finally, like backup comes. So they have the police officers move away. The door then is now not being protected. And then the the rioters move in with more force. And they're just trying to burst down the door. As they're doing that, they see there's a police officer on the other side of the door, and you can see the window, and he has his gun out. And finally, one or two of the rioters start to realize that he has a gun. Watch out, he has a gun. So they're yelling very clearly now. Everyone's aware on the other side of the door that this guy has a gun. And some people back off, and other people keep going. Finally, they break through the glass. And the first person through the glass is Ashley. I think her name's Ashley, the woman that got shot. She's right in the front screaming, doing her like Trump shit. Bursts through she sees the guy with the gun. In her mind, he's not going to shoot her because she's a white woman, right? I'm assuming. He shot her because she was the first to breach that thing. And then once that happened, people kind of like stopped finally. But it's like, that's my point. So my point is that she was one of the few people that faced any actual consequence for her action that day. Keep that in mind. I'm seeing on Facebook now these pretty liberal white people going, I feel so sorry for her. I feel so sorry for her.
What?
And
wait, who's saying that?
People all over. I'm looking on everybody's page and stuff like that. People are sort of saying, and they're trying to excuse it for, first of all, some people were saying, well, just goes to show that the only woman that died, or the only person that died was a woman. And it's like, first of all, she was the only person. She went through the window first. That's why she got shot. And she didn't think that she could be touched by anybody because she's a white woman. And
she thought her privilege would protect her.
Secondly, people were saying, well, but she clearly was mentally ill. Everybody in that building is mentally ill. Anybody that thinks Trump is good for the world, for anybody, is mentally ill. So that's not, what are we going to do about that? So then we need to work on America has to have a better mental illness plans for each other. But give me a break with that. 3, they're like, well, she's been indoctrinated. She's been radicalized. Do you feel as bad for the people that flew the plane into the World Trade Center? Do you feel sorry for them in the same way? I feel sorry for her the same way I feel sorry for Trump, the same way I feel sorry for Hitler, the same way I feel sorry for all the ISIS people, the same way I feel sorry for every single Trump supporter out there, in that these are people that are so disconnected from humanity, so disconnected from their own hearts and the universe, the energy of who we really are, they're so disconnected from themselves that they have to hurt other people. Their anger is just so... there's so much anger pointed at themselves that it has to just start shooting out at other people. That's the only thing I'd feel sorry for them about. But I don't feel sorry. She chose to walk in that she chose to turn on Fox News. First of all, that's where it starts. She chose to walk in. And another thing is, people feel bad for her, and they feel bad about these Trump supporters because they look like their sisters, because they look like their mothers, because they look like their grandfathers, because they look like them. They look like me. They look like me. So now it's now you have this weird empathy for these people. No, these people are terrorists. They are just as much a terrorist as the people that flew the plane into the World Trade Center. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Same radicalization, in fact. Right. And when and then it's I say shit like this, and that's when people start to go, "Oh, you're overreacting." Am I? Am I overreacting?
I couldn't get on Facebook this past week. I just can't. I don't want. I'm forming my own, safe haven here. I'm reading the paper. Good. I'm listening to my political podcasts, but I do not need to hear what, Jerry that I've befriended at B Street Theater in Sacramento has to say. I just don't. Right. I don't care. It's really, that's the noise I'm talking about. It's just everybody has an opinion about this. Everybody, and I mean it. we have to, like you said, the stars and the moon and all this, whatever. If we do not come together and shut this shit down,
it just gets worse from here. It just gets worse. And I know it's scary, and we're so coddled in this country. We've been so coddled and protected from real strife. Really, most of us, especially white people, especially white people. But compared to what people are going through, like in Lebanon and stuff like that, in Syria, right? We've been so protected from that stuff that like we're so scared if like a little, like something like this happens and we're like, I just want to hide. It's like, this is the time where we have to say, don't be scared of the immediate noise. Be scared of what's coming if we don't take care of this now.
Yes, you nailed it. Yep. We have got to take care of it now for fear of what is to come.
It's a cancer. It is a cancer, and it has gotten
and
real
we saw
big.
It. And we saw it these last 4 years. I mean,
more than
people
4 years.
are
It
like,
has been going on. Some people are saying like this has been going on since Nixon. Since Nixon got away with treasonous activity in the Watergate. And they kind of, he was impeached, but then he resigned. And then there just wasn't a lot of, people weren't really held accountable in a real way. And then it sort of started this precedent. Like then we had the Bush administration where they lost that election. And then the judges, in an unprecedented way, said, "Oh, well, he won in Florida. Well, guess what else was going on in Florida? His brother was the governor."
Right.
So, like, so much.
This all has
this has been happening for a long time, and maybe even before. There's probably arguments that it's before Nixon too. But like, just on that level, this has been going on for a really long time. So it's like, when do we woman up, grow some ovaries, and shut this shit down? And I think it's now. And this is what the, dawning of the age, we're in the age of Aquarius. It's time to shut shit down.
Oh, God. Well, you know what I want to shut the fuck down is Ted Cruz. That
he's
motherfucker.
that little
and Josh,
Weasley. Oh, God.
Josh Hawley, that little piece of shit.
Yeah.
So apparently, Simon and Schuster, they were gonna put out his book, and they stopped, which is huge.
Yeah. Well, and also Parler is now saying too that that other site that people are moving to, the fascists are moving to, Parler now is like losing all of its advertising money because nobody wants to be participating in this. So I think that like there's going to be, even, and we said this before where you're like, well, what if the motive is more about money? It's like, whatever gets it done.
Yeah. Whatever.
That company only is doing it because they don't want to like lose customers. Fine. Like if that's what it is, if that's what makes people change. Amanda Seales said a really good thing about opinions on Instagram the other day. She was like, opinions, like anybody can have an opinion. An opinion is just a thought. It's just a thought that you have and you say out loud. That's an opinion. But a valid opinion is a thought that has been developed based, by studying something and deducting and using rational thought, critical thinking. Critical thinking was the word she used, and being a critical thinker. And that we do not have critical thinking in this country right now. Very little of it. Very, very little. A lot of emotional thinking, a lot of emotional spewing, very little reasoning. That's another thing too. These people
I just took a personality test, and critical thinking was the bottom one for me.
Oh no, Marie, you gotta work on your critical thinking.
No, it's me. It's my fault.
Work on it.
I gotta work on it.
Yeah,
you're a critical thinker. You're the critical thinker of the podcast.
I'm like the most critical thinker. But I was right. That was just like it's in my whatever. But the other thing was that this idea of freedoms and stuff, and people wanting to be independent and free. Yet they don't have any interest in thinking for themselves in a real way. Because independent, free thinkers don't, like your pastor was saying, they don't worship one man. They don't worship a flag. They don't say this man is our going to save us from this or that. They say, this part of this is okay. That part of this is not okay. When there's a leader that is around, doing some stuff, in my opinion, I look at him and I go, that was good, but this is not okay. And we need to hold them accountable for that. So why are these people that are Trump supporters? It's like, he can do no wrong. That's not critical thinking. That's not freedom of thought. And this idea that like, the sheeple thing, they love to call liberals sheeples. They're the most sheeply of them all. But also, what is that when you project onto other people your own things?
What?
Like just that like, you know, when something you have something you project it onto somebody else.
Don't
like,
ask the non-critical thinker question. Don't ask me anything.
Like, what? I don't know. No, you are a critical thinker, and you do. You know what I mean? You're an independent thinker. You don't go along with the majority. You know what I mean? You
no. If anything, I push against it all.
Right. So I mean, that's already, and again, but with good reason, right? I don't know. Anyway. We're fucked. That's all. I don't know.
No, we gotta have some hope. I mean,
I actually have a lot of hope, to be honest.
I do too. I really do. But I do think this week and next week are gonna be, it's just gonna be really telling of how we hold this man accountable and how and these terrorists accountable.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and we really, every single person listening, like, if you're like, what can I do? Literally, we have to call our representatives right now. Yeah. And just inundate them. Sign all the petitions you can. We have to be as loud as these scrotums over here.
Yeah. And we have to be brave and know that, like, look, it might be a little loud for a minute, but we have to just keep pushing. And this stuff is like, it really does matter. It matters that. And I said this on Instagram too, and it got people all like, whoa. But there's like this one picture of this little old lady that's just standing there.
The Antifa or something.
Yeah. But the joke was that she's Antifa, and like that's the whatever. And she's inside the Senate, and she looks totally lost and bewildered and whatever. But, and people are making jokes, and I love jokes. I have no problem with people making jokes. But I also want to remind everybody that woman should be in jail.
Right.
She should be in jail. She should probably die in jail because she's pretty old. So like, but even that response you have right now, right? You're like, whoa, that's so intense, Katie. Why should she have, because she looks like your grandma? You know?
No.
Like, why should she lock her the fuck up? And not just her. I don't mean to just say her. I mean, everybody that set foot in that space, anybody that touched a police officer in a violent manner should be arrested, because that used to be the precedent prior to that was that if you stood on the street and they didn't want you to be there, they'd arrest you. Mm-hmm. If you're a person who has who's disabled and you're fighting for disabled rights and you come and do a sit-in in the Senate, they came and got you in 1 second. If you're a nun fighting for whatever nun rights, whatever it was, there's some nuns that came in there, that they had them in handcuffs immediately.
Right.
So I want every fucking
person
testicle there, taken out. I want them all, because they don't even know. The people that were then kicked off the flights on their way home, did you see that? Some people had flown over. They were very disruptive flyers too. Surprise, surprise, these Trump guys. When they tried to get on their flights home, some of them, the airlines had banned them for life. They said, you can't fly on this airline anymore. And there was a video of this one guy just having a hissy fit, being like, and he sounds like a little baby. He's like, why? It's not fair. Why? Just because and you're like, because this is what it feels like to be accountable for your actions.
Well, a friend of mine, her company sent out a company-wide email saying that if anyone participated on Wednesday, they'd be fired. And apparently they had been going through the company and firing people who had been there.
Good.
And they're finding, yeah. Oh, no, I completely, but it's happening. I mean, it's happening. I think that there's a lot happening that we do not know right now. That's in corporate America.
Did you see, you're going to love this. Did you see that Olive Garden made a statement? You're going to love this. Olive Garden was like, we will not participate in any way, shape, or form. We are a family restaurant. We do not condone any kind of like violence or any of this insurrection that's been happening. And the members that participated in this violent event, we are taking away their free breadsticks for life or whatever it was. There was something. Yeah, there's something you get. There's something you get, I guess, if you're like join like the Olive Garden Club and they're like, no more free breadsticks for you. It was like but it was very seriously worded. You
know what?
And it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And I was like, but you're really hitting them where it hurts there, you know?
Yeah.
I would, if I had all that, if they told me I couldn't come to Red Lobster again, I wouldn't storm the Capitol. I'd be like, no, please. It's okay.
Yeah. It's been a lot. I just feel like, I haven't quite processed the bombing on Christmas downtown Nashville in a street that, like, my spaghetti factory that I went to every single one of my birthdays is gone. The Hooters is gone. Right. All the bars that we used to go to, bar hopping when you'd come to Nashville, go to Robert's Western World, and then we'd go down and see the Wild Horse and all those other things. Like, those are all, like my hometown got bombed. And then now for you to look and see your hometown, DC, being hit by terrorists as well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just, not to make it about us or me or whatever, but like, there's DC a lot of mental shit. Right. But it's just like,
can I tell you something else that's going to be really upsetting? I'm really sorry. I'm just going to tell it to you on air, live on air, not live, but pre-recorded on air. That guy that had the zip ties, they found him.
Yeah. Tennessee.
Nashville bartender.
Yeah. Nashville bartender.
Nashville.
I know. Well, so not enough people are talking about this, but do you know they raided the Tennessee Capitol? FBI did.
The FBI raided him.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
I don't know why. But they were seen like removing tons of papers, and it was just like they raided the Tennessee State Capitol because the lawmakers there were a part of something. I don't know.
There was some other some Oregon State Capitol, one of the state Congress guys or whatever. He there's a video of him letting in the rioters into the Oregon State Capitol. He let them in. He just walked over to the door and he's like, "Come on, guys, come on in." So it's from the inside. It's happening, but we already knew that, right? Because even that's the other thing. It's important is that with the whole trying to take down the election, these people that voted against, like in Pennsylvania, those votes and all that, that's insurrection too, and it's very serious to try to stop this election totally illegally. There's no evidence. So these guys, they think that they're just they think they're playing politics, it's just gotten so out of control we barely think of it. But every single person that voted to, have the election overturned, or those votes overturned in like Pennsylvania, they all should be taken out of office. They should all resign. I don't think that they really fully realize what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. It will be interesting when it's time to vote again in 2 years for a lot of those House seats.
If we have a house. I mean, I don't even know. I'm just saying. We have to. That's why we have to protect it, right?
Yeah.
The astrology says that things are going to get better in 2023.
Jesus, Katie.
No, it's good though, because then in 2 years when we're voting, we'll be like, maybe that'll be good. Oh,
okay,
God.
so what can we? Okay, what are we gonna do? How do we stay happy?
Help
me. I'm like having a mental breakdown.
No, I'm gonna help you right now. This is all the good news. This is the good news. All the stuff we've been talking about today. I'm gonna help you, everybody. If you're panicking, okay. All the stuff we're talking about today has been very outward, external stuff, right? The chaos that we're experiencing outside of us, right? But what I really do think that this is about, and I think that the lockdown is a part of this, just like energetically, and I'm going to get hippy dippy, but it's going to be helpful. We're being forced right now to stay in place. We can't hide from these problems. There's nowhere for us to go so that we can work on our own stuff, right? And let me go back to what I'd said before on that Christmas episode about how I listened to that song, Let There Be Peace on Earth, and let it begin with me. That is what we do. That after you call your senators, it's very important that all of us take time for ourselves, do some deep diving. Part of the thing with the astrology too is that, like, yes, it's going to be chaotic outside of us, but it's also a time of and part of the chaos is to like weed away the stuff we don't need, the stuff we don't want. You have to kind of make a clutter before you can reorganize, right? So that's what's happening with all the government crazy stuff outside of us. Internally, it's the same stuff, right? This is a really great time. If you need to turn off Facebook, if you need to turn off the news, you're not going to be able to single-handedly get Trump impeached, right? So it's okay to don't bury your head in the sand where you're like pretending it's not happening. But if you're really just taking some time off to practice your ukulele and play a Taylor Swift song and take a bubble bath, but also aside from just, again, hiding from these problems, this is a really great time to look inside yourself and say, how could I be a better human on this earth? What can I do to participate, to just be more loving? And that can be, I can be nicer to my brother. That can be, I can call my mom. That could be, I I could just be like really kind to the guy that's bagging my groceries, you know, and tell him that he has a really nice shirt on, you know? And I know that these things seem small, but they're not small if they're coming from like a real place of love. And I think part of that too, again, like I said before, I feel sorry for Hitler because that man clearly doesn't love himself. Trump, he doesn't love himself.
Hates himself.
He hates himself. You can battle that shit by loving yourself more. And I really do mean that. And that's where I feel like there's hope. I think that this is starting to turn people inward in a way where they can really start to love themselves more.
I'm crying.
But because you know why you're crying? Because it feels true, right? It feels right.
I'm nodding. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm nodding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
That is how
You can't. Yeah.
No, yeah.
You have to love yourself in order to love other things. I mean,
Yeah. And when you love yourself, then you look at your fellow man. It doesn't matter what sexual preference they are. It doesn't matter their race. It doesn't matter how tall they are. I mean, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because you love yourself, it's so easy then to be able to love other people, you know? It's so easy to just let that love. You won't even be able to stop yourself from loving everybody,
oh,
you know?
can we please get there, you guys?
I think we can. I
What's
know.
What's the Care Bear stare?
Care Bear stare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like all come together, and then the good of humanity like fights off everything, and then the aliens come, and then we can really
Then we
work
just,
together to fight them.
Yeah. Did you see that song, the Earth is Ghetto song? Google that. I'm not going to try to sing it because the girl is perfect.
Oh.
But that's kind of what we were talking about. But anyway, yeah, I think that while there's two things happening at once, there's the real stuff that's outside of us that we have to be aware of and get angry and fired up about. And then there's the inside stuff where we have to be very soft with ourselves and very loving with ourselves and loving with our fellow man to some extent, right? I mean, like you said too, there's some people that we're not going to be able to convince. I was sort of trying for a long time to convince people of stuff. That's not our job. I'm realizing that's not the work. The work is internal. And then the work is also making calls and holding people accountable as best we can as citizens, as a community.
And we didn't even talk about Georgia.
And that's the other thing, that's how sad, right? That these things get so overshadowed, the good news. That Georgia's such good news.
Such wonderful news. And that truly is just, really incredible organizing. And I think that we're going to be seeing that a lot more.
Me too.
Which is and all through the South and all through the country, hopefully, but especially in the South where so many of these, these communities have not been able to vote because of voter suppression and stuff. So,
right. And if you're really a patriot, you want democracy for everybody.
Yes.
That's a patriot.
Democracy for everybody. I think that's the name of this show. That we're going to stop calling it. Yeah.
Just the democracy
Goodbye,
for all
difficult women. Democracy for all.
Democratic ladies. Oh, God.
Well, we love you guys so much. I know that it's been really hard, but
and I do hope that we didn't freak out in the middle and turn it off and miss the nice ending. I'm realizing maybe I should have started with that, but that's all right.
No, I think it was a perfect place to end. I can go dry my tears now that it's over.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, we do love you guys, and please love each other and love yourselves.
Democracy for all.
Democracy for all.
Go horse.
Go horse.